3, and you're live.
All right, good people. It's Don't Believe the Hype, the good, the bad, the ugly of fantasy sports. I'm Maurice.
And I'm Marcus.
All right, we're going to get right into it because last week was a busy week. We got football, we had baseball, we got basketball. We're going to go ahead and get started with football. Last week, who lived up to the hype for you?
Of course, Amari Cooper. 11 catches, 210, 2 touchdowns. They got him involved early. I believe they threw his weight 19 times. He caught 11 of the 19 targets. So definitely, if you have Amari Cooper, he paid off in a big way for you. Welcome back to the NFL season, Amari Cooper. Definitely got to go with the defenses. Got to switch over to those guys. If you had the Bears, they paid off for you. If you had Jacksonville, they paid off for you. If you had the Chargers special teams defense, they paid off for you. You had a punt return. They shut out Denver. They sacked Trevor Siemian a boatload of times. I believe he threw a pick as well. Also, Zeke single-handedly beat the 49ers by himself. Close to $150 on the ground. Caught a 72-yard touchdown pass. So those are just some of the guys that paid off for me. How about you?
I definitely agree with you on Cooper. That Cooper and Carr connection, that's what the Raiders have been waiting for, So definitely impressed with that. The quarterback that impressed me the most and that has kind of impressed me through the nearly first half of the year, Carson Wentz. Monday Night Football, another game, more touchdowns. I believe he has 17 passing touchdowns already through 7 games. So he's looking like he's one of the top quarterbacks and potentially candidate for MVP. But definitely agree with the defenses, man. I was very impressed. With Chicago, that's the second straight game they did very well. They're pretty much carrying the team because they don't really have a good offense. So,
all right,
kudos to the Bears, definitely.
Also, the Dolphins wide receivers, they finally have come back to fantasy prominence, if you will. Given the fact that Jay Cutler is out now with some broken ribs, Matt Moore has stepped in, and he already had rapport with Jarvis Landry, Kenny Stills, Devontae Parker. Now, I didn't necessarily understand the Jay Cutler move in the offseason, given the fact that Tannehill was out, they needed another quarterback. But to sign somebody off the street who had little, rapport with your receivers and basically keep somebody on the sideline who actually had a good chemistry with these guys. He stepped in for injured Cutler midway through the Jets game. Kenny Stills had 2 touchdown catches. Jarvis Landry had a touchdown catch. So it's safe to say that, that trio of receivers, when Devontae Parker is healthy, they should get some consideration for your lineups and for your DFS lineups as well.
Okay. So you are saying Jay Cutler was the problem?
Jay Cutler was absolutely the problem.
Agreed. But it like I said, they were impressive, but they do have a tough matchup against a solid secondary in the Baltimore Ravens on Thursday night. So we'll get to see really if last week was just luck or if this is a sign of things to come. Right. Parker is already ruled out, but again, Landry's one of the best slots in the business. Kenny Steele can definitely go deep. So it's going to be a good matchup as far as seeing those wide receivers go against that secondary.
Right.
All right. Well, who did not live up to the hype?
The entire Arizona Cardinals 53-man roster. They went over to London. Nobody showed up. The coaches didn't show up. The fans didn't show up. Carson Palmer broke his arm. Adrian Peterson looked like New Orleans Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
Patrick Peterson didn't look too good. Fitzgerald, I don't know if he made the trip. Atlanta went up to Boston on a foggy Sunday night, and they just looked awful. I mean, Cam Newton I mean, he made the Bears defense look like the '85 Bears defense. I mean, it was just awful. It was just awful. They couldn't move the ball. They couldn't catch the ball. They couldn't run the ball. They couldn't protect Cam. Cam threw to Eddie Jackson a couple times, who happens to play defense for the Bears. I mean, it was some horrible football being played. You know, I mean, of course, San Francisco didn't show up. I mean, the Ravens didn't show up.
Were you expecting them to?
Not really, but it goes to show you that kind of the season as a whole hasn't been that good, you know, from a fantasy standpoint. You know, you have your solid guys, but then you also have your surprises. I mean, Arizona, they showed up against Tampa, but they haven't showed up against other teams all year, you know. So just some inconsistencies, that's all.
Well, I want to throw a few more names on that list. We're gonna go ahead and start with your boy. You know, Oakland, they definitely had some bright spots, but we didn't talk about your boy Beast Mode, or as he should be called, Bench Mode. I mean,
AKA the Peacemaker.
Well, look, man, Marshall Lynch coming back, I thought it was a really a great idea. He wanted to play for his hometown before they moved to Vegas, but honestly, he's had more action on the sidelines, you know, than he has actually in the game.
Right.
And also, so you already knew that you were going to get kicked out of the game for running off the side, you know, coming from the sideline. But then to put your hands on the ref, what do you think was going to happen? Oh, my bad. I didn't realize that you were official. Is that how that went? You know what I'm saying? Like
he tried to smooth up the wrinkles.
Right. He was like
in the shirt.
Right. You know, they learned that in offensive line school 101. That's where he gave one of those moves. So, you know, Marshawn Lynch, that was a disappointment. And again, he's hurt. He hurt his team. Not that he's done anything on the field, but again, he's a capable back. And plus, this week they're playing Buffalo, which is the team that drafted him. So It would have been a good, you know,
revenge,
kind of
good revenge spot.
Revenge, farewell tour for him kind of deal.
Right.
Martavius Bryant. Man, I don't even know where to begin. I mean, well, first, how do you go from being one of the best wide receiver twos in the league, you know, to one being suspended, to then, I mean, ultimately losing your snaps to a rookie who was Juju Smith-Schuster has played very well. So, you know, I'm impressed with him, but at the same time, I still figured that Brian would have been able to carve out a role. So he had a problem with that. He took it to the social media, you know, which is
a no-no.
Right. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete, an entertainer, if you're just a regular Joe. What you put out there in the Twitterverse or Facebook, wherever, it stays there. Even if you delete it, it stays there. Be very mindful of what you're posting. I understand that you're mad and you're in your feelings, but you know, I'll say it like this. When I was a little younger, right? You know, when I would get mad, I would go to bed. No, seriously.
It's plain and simple.
I didn't care what time it was. It could have been 5 o'clock. It could have been noon. If I was really that pissed off, I would go to sleep because I figured, I said, hey, if I woke up and I was still angry, then it was, you know, it was a reason to be.
Then it was meant to be.
Exactly. But 9 times out of 10, when I went to sleep and I woke up, I was like, you know what? I'm not even really that mad anymore. Maybe I was just tired. So maybe that was his problem. But so again, his problem was that he wasn't getting enough targets. So today, Mike Tomlin decided to reward him and put him on the practice squad. So he's going to get all the targets he wants. You know what I'm saying?
from Landry Jones.
He's going to be the number 1 wide receiver on the practice squad. So I hope you're happy, Martavius Bryant.
And that means, of course, he's not playing Sunday night.
That is correct. Well, he will be, but it'll probably be on Madden.
Right.
So, hey. And last but not least, Demaryius Bebe Thomas.
It's not his fault. Don't do that. It's not his fault.
Well, I put him every lineup I played in, and I played in quite a few. I put him in every single lineup. every single lineup. I mean, the writing was on the wall. The week before, he had double-figure targets, 100 yards. Emmanuel Sanders was hurt. They didn't have anyone else to throw the ball to.
Right.
I mean, look, it was perfect. It was perfect script for him. And you're right. It's not his fault, but I have to blame someone. So I'm not going to blame Trevor Siemian because I would never play Trevor Siemian. So this week, Emmanuel Sanders might play. We don't know yet. I don't even know if I want to play him again because that really hurt. You know, what he gave, it really hurt me. So I haven't decided yet.
I understand. I absolutely understand. They had Kansas City, right?
Was it Kansas City?
I believe it's the Monday night game.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the Monday night game. Dallas. Philly played on the Monday night.
No, I'm saying this week coming up.
This week. Yes. They do play Kansas City this week. Yeah.
And then you have some aggressive corners, as you've seen in the Oakland game, as you've seen in the Pittsburgh game. They are beatable. Marcus Peters, Terrence Mitchell, Phillip Gaines, they're all beatable. If everything's clicking, they can be shut down. But as we've seen, teams are starting to go right at them.
Right.
So
I would feel better about the matchup if Emmanuel Sanders was playing, just because he could Marcus Peters would not have to, just pretty much shadow him, which I don't think he's gonna do anyway. But I would just feel a little better about the matchup, so they wouldn't just focus on just him and taking him out of the offense. But I also, I don't know if you saw this, but Dontrell Inman from the San Diego Chargers was traded to the Bears. And, I actually thought that was a pretty intriguing move. So what I did was 3 leagues out, I could have used some depth at receiver. I picked him up. Now, I don't expect him to do anything this week or even possibly next week, but he is going to a team that lost their number 1 and their number 2 receiver pretty much before the season even started. They're starting Trey McBride and somebody else that I don't know who is. But honestly, it's not looking too good for them right now. And probably in another week or two, Dontrell Inman will probably be the wide receiver 1 down there. And if Trubisky decides to lock in on them, and again, rookie receivers, rookie quarterbacks, they always find that guy they like. Look at him. He's 6'3", 205. Plus, when he filled in for Keenan Allen last year, he ended up catching 58 balls. So he's definitely someone late down the stretch for the playoff run, could probably end up being your flex or even wide receiver 3.
All right, and that's a solid pickup because at this point we're heading into week 8, and the waiver wire is kind of getting a bit dried up as far as finding guys who can fit what you're looking for in a team, to fill out your team. And as far as, for an NFL team, barring injury, it's not a lot of guys out there that are going to crack the starting lineup. So those guys that are on the waiver wires now are out there for a reason. It's because they're not getting enough playing time to actually accumulate points to help your team out. So I know I went with Kenny Stills because I was in need of a wideout. There's a couple wideouts that I had on bye this week. And given the fact that Matt Moore does have chemistry with these guys, it was kind of a no-brainer that he was still out there. And I went ahead and I picked him up. So that was one of the guys that I went and grabbed this week. And then if you're in the bond for a defense, I went ahead and I picked up Philly's defense. Philly, their defenses out there, a lot of people fall in love with Jacksonville and LA, the Rams at least. But Philly has an excellent matchup going against San Francisco, who's traveling from San Francisco to Philly. And we've seen in most seasons what happens when West Coast teams play an East Coast squad at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, which is 10 o'clock West Coast time. They're not really geared up for it. They haven't woken up yet. They're still in the morning routine, and here it is the afternoon, and they got a kickoff in a matter of minutes. And given the fact that C.J. Beathard is still learning on the job, we've seen what Dallas did to him. It's a no-brainer. Philly, they fly to the ball defensively. They can get sacks. They can cause turnovers. Their special teams is pretty good as far as return guys. So that's a good spot for if you're in the need of a defense. Philly, definitely.
Agreed. So as you mentioned, week 8, some players to pick up. What player or what team, like what game are you looking forward to seeing this week?
As a fan or from a fantasy standpoint?
From a fantasy standpoint.
From a fantasy standpoint, I like the Falcons in a bounce back spot going against the Jets. They didn't look too good against New England. They 7 points. Julio Jones was the only one who stood out, and that was just the fact that he caught a touchdown in mop-up duty. But the Jets, their secondary isn't that good. Their defense, their front four is okay.
Right.
Outside of Muhammad Wilkerson, he's really good. A couple other guys on that line are pretty good, and they can get to the quarterback as well. But I like an angry Falcons squad in general. Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman, Julio, Matt Ryan. You can stack them any way you want. But I like all 3 of those guys, or 4 of those guys, to have good games against a Jets defense that's beatable.
I like that. For me, it's Houston and Seattle, big game. Or I would kind of say I'm looking at Deshaun Watson against Seattle's defense. Mm-hmm. Coming into the season, Seattle was, after they picked up Michael Bennett, they were supposed to be pretty much Jacksonville's defense. What Jacksonville's defense is doing, that's what we thought we would get from Seattle. Seattle's been pretty solid, but they have not been that Legion of Boom and just that defense that attacks the quarterback the way that we're accustomed to. I think in the matchup against Houston, you're going to get to see, has what Deshaun Watson done in the last 3 games, 13 touchdowns? Is that a fluke? Of course we know he's not going to have those kind of productions, but to see him go against a defense of that caliber, if he's able to hold his own, then okay, we know, hey, this guy, he's the real deal. I mean, I like him anyway, but I'm just looking forward to his matchup. Plus, all of the teams in their divisions, you got the Rams, Jaguars, and the Titans. They're on byes this week. If whoever wins that game will be tied for first place in their division. So that's also important, coming up.
Also, fire up all the Le'Veon and Antonio Brown in the world that you desire, for the simple fact that New Orleans hung 52 up against Detroit. And I know most of it was, defense, a couple pick sixes that Matt Stafford threw. But listen, Mark Ingram went off for the 2 scores, 140 yards when they played. Right. Le'Veon can do the same thing against his defense. Antonio Brown can go off against his defense. They're indoors, so it's no excuse for Ben to not throw the ball around. He should feel comfortable. It's no elements that are affecting him. So I like the Steelers offense. I think Juju takes another step, replacing Martavis. I think he scores as well. Okay.
Now, last time you had the Steelers, you mentioned them, and they were going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and
that's when Ben threw picks. Right. But, hey, look, you gotta clear your memory.
It was like not 1, not 2, not
3.
It was LeBron, right?
But look, man, you gotta have short memory. You gotta have short memory.
Exactly.
You gotta well.
You're right.
You gotta pick out those guys who may not be, high up on everybody's list. So listen. Exactly. The Lions, their defense isn't that good, so why not? Why not give it a shot?
Agreed. So let's go ahead and switch gears. Last week we mentioned NBA, NFL, baseball. Last week started NBA season. Let's kind of talk about that for a minute. Who, and it could be or whom, what team, what player, who impressed you last week?
Greek Freak. Listen, those stat lines were just absolutely ridiculous every game last week. He held his own against Cleveland, did his thing against Portland, Charlotte, Boston. I mean, if you can build your team around him, Please do, because he's going to give you stats from all 5 positions on the floor.
Okay. I'm in agreed. I mean, he was right at the top of my list. So, because what I was going to ask you a question, I think you might already kind of answered it. And if you were building a franchise, injuries, take injuries out of the equation, you can start your franchise today. Embiid, AD, Greek Freak, LeBron, who you rolling with?
Man, you gotta roll with Greek Freak. Listen, Embiid is good. Every time he falls on the floor, I cringe because I really want to see him do well. I want to see him play 82 games. I really want to see Philly make the playoffs. I think they'll be a dangerous team once they all put it together and figure out how to win. Ben Simmons, listen, he's 6'10", playing point guard. He had 21. He had a triple-double against Detroit Monday night. I think there'll be more to come from that. I think he'll have more triple-doubles than Lonzo will. Lonzo's good, but I think Ben Simmons is just – something intrigues me about a dude that's almost 7 feet tall that's that gifted. And I see it in Greek Freak. I saw it in Dirk. I see it in Ben. That's just how I feel.
Okay. All right. Before we go, though, I definitely want to second that. I definitely agree with the Greek Freak. Player of the week last week. What was most impressive, again, 30 plus a game. What was most impressive, he only took 6 3-pointers. 6 3-pointers.
Old school. That's an old school stat line right there.
Old school. So hats off goes off to the Greek Freak. Again, this is Don't Believe the Hype. I'm Maurice.
And I'm Marcus.